regular parents, regular life, until I turned 17. Actually, it was late 17. It was a month before my 18th birthday. My cousin Tyler, he was my best buddy. Like, we grew up together. We were same age. Our fathers were brothers, and he even lived at my house. He hung himself on a doorknob a month before my 18th birthday, and that changed everything for me. Everything. Without proper guidance in a man's life, especially at that age, you can go one of two ways. And I went the bad way. I spent most of my time partying. I became a motorcycle mechanic, worked at Harley Davidson. So that was kind of my crowd, right? Spent most of my time just riding motorcycles, partying, drinking, strip clubs, that kind of stuff. And, despite still being somewhat successful, growing up in a small town, a lot of people didn't see that. Normally, growing up in a small town, everything's on the table. But no, I was still able to be fairly successful. I was known as the young guy that was kind of coming up, but nobody really saw what was happening inside or behind the scenes, right? Yeah, man, it's just destroying myself. Every relationship I had, I would destroy, self-sabotage, and that's how I lived my life right up until I turned 35. Even when I met my wife, fuck, man, I don't know how she stayed with me. I really don't. And even to this day, I ask her, like, why? Because I knew what kind of person you are. And she's like, I could see through that. And thank God she was right. It just took a while for me to find it for myself. And for me, it was it was Boxing Day, 2020. My daughter was 5 years old at the time. My son was 5 months old. COVID, everything's, chaos. The world's falling apart, and everybody's just going deeper and deeper into these shitty rabbit holes. And I don't know, man, something just switched. Came home the night before, not remembering how I got home. So I woke up, no clue how I got home. I looked outside and my truck's parked half in the driveway, half in the lawn, driver's side door open, snow filled driver's seat. And it was the sound of cartoons that woke me up, right? It's like 11 o'clock in the morning, and I'm ready to give my 5-year-old daughter shit for having the cartoons too loud. Like, that's where I was. And, as soon as I walked out of there and I was about to, give her shit, just paradigm shift right there. I said, no more. I'm like, I'm either going to take my own life or I'm going to kill the man that I was. And I picked the latter of the two, thank God. And never looked back, man. It's just been upward and onward since. I haven't slowed down. I just keep getting better and better every day. My main goal has just been, how can I improve every single day? And like anybody else, I'm human. I don't every day, but I try to, right? And basically, when I quit, so when I decided to make that choice once and for all, I looked at my sister, because my sister at that time was 3 years sober, but she went through the traditional programs. And, she would always call me, she just called me brother. She never called me by my name. She was like, hey, brother, like, struggling, whatever the problem was. And she'd just say she was sick. I can't, I'm powerless. She would say, I'm sick. It's nothing that I can change. I just have to go to meetings. And she was 3 years sober, and she still called herself an alcoholic. And I'm like, I can't do that. To me, in my opinion, is that's a victimhood mentality. How can I sit in a room in a circle of people and attach my name to an identity I no longer wanted. Right? It's counterintuitive of what I want to accomplish. I'm telling my subconscious mind that that's what I am. How am I ever going to fucking escape that? I'm not. I watched her. She never escaped it. So there's nothing really out there. So my entrepreneur mind, what do I do best is I created something. I created a model that rather than just getting sober, I wanted to create armor. I wanted to build armor for myself so that no matter what happened in my life, I would never fall back into the same patterns that I once had. And those patterns were caused by, well, it was caused by myself, but it was triggered by Tyler's suicide. And if I could just build a way that no matter what happened, I'd never fall back into that. And that was 5 things in my life. So, and I'm talking, this was like days sitting, thinking, trying to come up with the strategy. So I figured there's 5 areas of my life. If I always, for the rest of my life, continuously improved in those 5 areas, it would be unreasonable for me to fail. And those were my aspirations, revenue, muscle, oneness, and relationships, armor. And then I just basically focused on those and how I would grow every single day in every category of my life. And that took my addiction. So as addicts, we're often like entrepreneurs and crack addicts are the same fucking people, right? A lot of people just don't realize addicts aren't sick. They have an innate ability. They have a fucking superpower to focus on something so much that nothing else matters. So if I took that same ability and focused on those 5 things, then I would basically have the same outcome that I did as an addict, right? Except I would pull good things from it rather than destroying my relationships, rather than losing confidence and courage. Man, I was like 245 pounds and, I had no real aspirations. I know I wanted to make a lot of money, but I didn't know how to get there. I had nothing else. So once I had that, I came up with the 6 iron C's, I called them. So clarity, confidence, courage, consistency, core values, and charisma. So I would work on those in that order, and then I would consistently measure it and watch my ebbs and flows and adjust my life accordingly. And then I was able to basically take that strategy and share it with other dudes.
That's pretty awesome, man. It's pretty, it's a pretty crazy path to get there.
Sorry, I was like, here's drinking from a fire hose. There's my life.
The way to do it, man. So I got a bunch of questions. I guess maybe the first one I want to ask is you had that pivotal moment. You had that, you can still recall it with all the details and all the, sounds and smells and everything. Why do you think you had that? Why do you think that was the day? Because I know there's a lot of guys that they probably feel like they haven't hit rock bottom yet. Like they say, yeah, it's bad, and yeah, I got to do something about it. But then they'll go and start it up again tomorrow night
until they really hit
it. What's because that technically, that was a shitty morning and shitty circumstances and all that stuff. But like you didn't really bottom out. Why do you think you were in that moment? Why do you think you had that pivot?
So this one's gonna be tough to say. This didn't come to me until like 2 years ago. So it's been 5 years now. Well, coming on this December 26th. I had no idea why at that time. So to build up to that, so I got sober for 3 years, and the ultimate test was 3 years almost to the day, right? And it was a test. My sister shot herself, and like me and her we were fucking tight, right? she was everything.
3 years after you got sober?
3 years
and
after
she
I got
was
sober.
on her sober path at that time?
Yeah, it was actually, so her sobriety date was 7 days before her birthday, and her death date was 7 days after her birthday. So it goes her sobriety date, her birth date, and her death date all 7 days apart. And so Tyler, so to answer your question, it was the ultimate test, and I passed. You know, it was the very first time in my life that I saw something tragic as an opportunity. And as bad as that sounds, she was the most important person in my life. That is what put me here today. That is what put me in front of thousands of other men to help them. Tyler killed himself January 26th, 2003. My sister killed herself November 26th, 2023. I quit drinking December 26th, 2020. I hadn't seen my sister in 3 years because of COVID. She lived in Texas, and we couldn't travel because I decided not to take the, and she wasn't allowed to travel because of her job. So I hadn't seen her, and she came home. So she died in November. She was home that October because my grandmother passed away September 26th. So that forced her to come home. She'd never met my son. She got to meet my son for the first time. And then she left us that November. Her suicide note, she left basically to me. It was, you know, saying sorry to everybody. And then she wanted me to have everything. And she wanted those who did this to her to suffer forever, i.e. her husband and his mother, is what she was talking about. He had found methamphetamine and totally destroyed everything for them. And his mother died May 26th, 6 months after my sister died. And he got everything because she didn't sign the note, so it wasn't a legal document. And he locked us out of everything. We didn't get anything of hers. And he ended up buying the house that she wanted, or in the neighborhood that she wanted, February 26th, after her passing, with her money. And it's all gone. He got remarried that same day, 1 year later, with my sister's ring. Sent a video of him, his wife, and his kids giving the finger to my mom, like real dirtbag. And so now, to answer your question, now it was meant to be. It was just that day. It was the 26th. You know,
It was gonna be one way or the other.
right? I don't subscribe to religion, but I believe in God. I work for God. I'm a warrior for God, because I can't deny it. And there's other like totally fucking insane stories, but it's because it was the 26th, and that's why, and that's the only reason, you know. And I truly believe that.